Success doesn't begin with luck, talent, or excessive hard work. Success begins with a simple yet decisive choice: how you use the first hour of your day. While most of the world is still asleep, the leaders are already awake. They don't just wake up early, they take action, plan, and lay the foundation for a productive day. The streets are quiet, the air is fresh, and there are no distractions. It is a pure space reserved for those determined to change their lives. 5 a.m. is not just a time slot, it's a symbol of choice, choosing discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, and victory over mediocrity. When your alarm rings at 5 a.m., your action is no longer a reflex. It's a declaration to yourself that you are in charge of your day. Waking up early is not a sacrifice of sleep, but an optimization of time you can fully control. Before the messages, emails, and demands from the outside world come rushing in, studies have shown that early risers possess higher levels of willpower, better decision-making abilities, and a stronger tendency to take initiative. When you start your day earlier than others, you not only gain more time, but also the power to choose how to use your mental energy when it's in its purest state. This is the ideal moment to focus deeply, reset your mindset, train your body, or learn something new, all taking place in the stillness and clarity that only the early morning can offer. Most people waste their mornings. They hit the snooze button multiple times, scroll through their phones mindlessly, and enter the day in a state of disarray. They react to life instead of leading it. The difference between living actively and passively is often decided in the first 60 minutes of the day. When you seize this window of time, you shift from being driven to becoming the one who drives. This is not just a piece of advice, it's a call to action. If you've ever believed that you're not a morning person, that's not your nature, it's simply the result of habit, and every habit can be reprogrammed. The adaptability of the human brain and body goes far beyond what you've ever imagined. With the right strategy, you can turn 5 a.m. into the most sacred hour of your day, a space where you connect with clarity, purpose, and your inner strength. You don't need to change everything overnight. What's essential is a clear commitment and specific steps. One small action each morning: waking up on time, drinking a glass of water, doing light exercise, writing down your top 3 goals, can trigger a ripple effect of positivity throughout your entire day. This is the beginning of continuous momentum. When small wins are repeated, they accumulate into major shifts in mindset, behavior, and results. This book doesn't just give you reasons why 5 a.m. matters. It is a blueprint for adopting this habit in a scientific and sustainable way. From the brain's operating mechanism strategies to overcome resistance, to designing a minimalist yet powerful morning routine. Everything is laid out clearly so that you not only understand it, but can actually implement it. You don't need a burst of inspiration, just a single commitment each morning. Success isn't found in grand gestures, but in the consistency of right actions. Reading is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Only when you begin to apply will you see yourself change. A month from now, you will no longer be the person you are today. You will be more alert, stronger, and more proactive in the face of every challenge. You will no longer wonder why success finds others but not you, because you will have made the choice to rise at 5 a.m. and take control. Everything starts here with the decision you make tomorrow. Not a perfect beginning, but an intentional one. And from that solid foundation, the next chapter will help you understand why 5 a.m. isn't just a suitable time, it is the best time to reset your brain, reframe your mindset, and build unshakable psychological advantage before the rest of the world even opens its eyes. Take a few seconds and ask yourself one seemingly simple question. Do you truly want to change? Not the kind of change that sparks briefly and fades after a few days, but a genuine transformation, starting with your willingness to do the hard thing at the very beginning of the day. And if you're silently nodding, if there's a whisper inside you saying it's time, then I invite you to leave a sign in the comments, just a sentence: I'm ready. Or even simpler, 5 a.m. And if you're feeling a little irritated, slightly resistant to this invitation, yes, I understand, but that's a good sign, because it's only when we're touched at the edge of our comfort that our old instincts begin to resist. It is in that very moment that the courageous part of you, the deepest and strongest part, has a chance to wake up. I don't need you to be perfect. I only want to see your courage. The courage to confront procrastination, to be disciplined with yourself, to step away from what's easy and choose what's right. And if you've already commented in any form, I am truly grateful, because it means you're not just listening, you're acting. That is the first step of a leader. So, why is 5 a.m. the time chosen by those who own their lives? It's not because they were born morning people, and it's not because they possess some kind of supernatural power. It's because they've recognized an undeniable truth. The first hour of the day determines the rest of it. If you can control the first hour, you control your mindset, your energy, and your outcomes. And there is no other time of day that gives you a more perfect condition to do that than 5 a.m. At that moment, most of the world is still asleep. The noise is silenced. No urgent calls, no flood of notifications, no one pulling you away from your flow. It's just you and the quiet. And that quiet isn't just an external environment. It's your opportunity to hear your inner voice clearly. This is where you can rewrite the script for your day. This is where you can renew your beliefs, refresh your goals, and decide what values you'll live by today. Your mind in the morning operates at its clearest state. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, planning, and self-control, performs at its peak just after you wake up. This is why the best ideas, the wisest decisions, and the most strategic plans often arise early in the morning, when your brain hasn't yet been depleted by stress, pressure, or negative emotions. If you let this time slip by in fatigue, haste, or distraction, you are turning away from one of the greatest gifts for personal growth. Leaders don't begin their days by reacting. They begin with intention. They don't wake up to deal with what has happened. They wake up to create what will happen. These are two entirely different mindsets, and the gap between the two is most clearly drawn at 5 a.m. Successful people don't wait for inspiration to act. They act to generate inspiration. They don't wait for the right conditions to begin. They begin to create the right conditions. Waking up early isn't about showing off your discipline. It's because you understand that if you don't take charge of the first hour, the outside world will take charge of you. Work will sweep you away. People will influence you. Unexpected situations will hijack your mind. And by the end of the day, you'll be left drained, unsure what you even lived for. But when you choose to wake at 5 a.m., you're sending yourself a message. I am a leader. I act first. I design my life one step at a time. Think about this. If each day you win just one battle with yourself during that first hour, then across a year, you will have 365 victories. These victories may not be flashy, but they repeat, compound, and build momentum. And when that momentum is strong enough, you'll see your life shift, not by luck, but by the clear direction you chose before the sun ever rose. The question is no longer, can I do this? But rather, am I willing to commit? Commit that no matter how tired you feel, no matter the rain, no matter the emotional resistance, you will rise. Accept the challenge and affirm your identity through the first action of the day. Success does not begin with inspiration. It begins with repetition. It begins with a small but right decision carried out each morning. The more you repeat that decision, the less you become someone driven by emotion or circumstance. You become the one who leads. If you're ready to go further, to truly make 5 a.m. your launch pad for each new day, I encourage you to leave a small sign, a comment, a short commitment, to remind yourself that you've started. I'm ready. Or simply 5 a.m. I want to see you show up. I want to know you're not just reading, but actually stepping into this journey with me. And for that, I thank you, because in the next part, we won't just talk about why anymore. We'll step into how. Exactly how to structure a real morning routine, step by step, so that 5 a.m. is no longer a challenge, but becomes a repeatable success system every single day. Get ready, because the next chapter is the lever for your breakthrough. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not merely a test of willpower, it is an act that directly influences the operating systems of your brain and body, the two core systems that impact every decision, emotion, and level of performance throughout your day. Once you understand the science behind this early hour, you'll no longer view waking early as forcing yourself, but as a smart strategy to mobilize your full inner resources and channel them forward. The human body functions according to a biological cycle known as the circadian rhythm, which is heavily influenced by natural light. When you wake up early, especially before sunrise, your body begins producing a series of hormones that support alertness, focus, and emotional stability. One of the most important of these hormones is cortisol, often misunderstood as the stress hormone, but in proper morning levels, it plays a highly beneficial role. It wakes the body, gently raises blood pressure to generate energy. It helps the brain prepare to process information and make decisions more effectively. In addition to cortisol, exposure to natural light within 30 minutes of waking has a profound impact on another hormone, melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Early sunlight suppresses melatonin production, helping you become alert quickly and resetting your internal biological clock, which in turn makes it easier to fall asleep in the evening and experience deeper rest. When this habit is maintained daily, the brain and body synchronize into a smooth cycle. Easier sleep, deeper rest, early rising, greater alertness, higher performance. This becomes the foundation for sustainable productivity. Another key scientific component is brainwave activity. While you sleep, your brain operates in slow wave states like delta or theta. As you begin to awaken, especially if you wake gently rather than being jolted by a harsh alarm, your brain gradually shifts into the alpha state, a brainwave state associated with relaxation, creativity, and receptiveness to new information. Alpha is a golden window for planning, visualizing, journaling, or engaging in mental training practices such as meditation or goal visualization. This is why successful people often have highly intentional morning rituals. They write down their goals, meditate, read, and all of it takes place during the phase when the brain is most primed to remember and shape thought patterns. It's not just the brain. The sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response system, is also reset through the habit of waking early, paired with light movement. Deep breathing, drinking warm water, and light physical activity activate brain areas responsible for emotional regulation while calming the stress responses carried over from the previous day. When you wake early and begin your day in control, your nervous system shifts from a reactive mode to a centered state, allowing you to handle situations with more calm and clarity. Notably, behavioral psychology studies also show that people who maintain the habit of rising early have higher self-control, better long-term goal maintenance, and greater overall life satisfaction. This is no coincidence. Waking up while others are still asleep doesn't just create time, it builds identity. The identity of someone who owns their time, someone who lives by choice rather than by circumstance. Each morning you send a signal to your brain, I am someone I can count on, and when this behavior is repeated, it shapes belief. Belief generates positive emotion, and positive emotion sustains future action. This becomes an upward spiral, initiated by simply getting up on time. There's another powerful element that often goes unnoticed, the relationship between morning habits and the prefrontal cortex, the center of logic, willpower, and ethics. When you maintain a disciplined habit like waking early, this part of the brain becomes more flexible and stronger. It's like training a muscle. Every time you resist the temptation to sleep in, you're reprogramming this brain region to better resist procrastination in other areas, work, relationships, health, or finances. A small act can have massive ripple effects because you're not just changing behavior, you're reshaping your neural architecture. And the great thing is, you don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. forever to gain these benefits. Research on habit formation shows that once you build a consistent streak, typically between 21 to 66 days, you will reach a threshold where your body automatically adjusts its rhythm. Your brain welcomes the early morning as natural, And waking up early no longer feels forced, it becomes a need. Finally, it's critical to understand that all these biological systems, hormones, brainwaves, the nervous system, and the prefrontal cortex, cannot function properly without one fundamental factor: quality sleep. Waking early does not mean cutting your sleep short. It demands that you go to bed on time, reduce exposure to blue light before sleep, avoid stimulants, and create a restful environment for genuine recovery. Someone who wakes up early but sleeps poorly or insufficiently will not be able to access the biological advantages mentioned above. So if you're serious about owning your mornings, it must start the night before with a proper night's rest. Science is not just something to be studied, it's a tool to live more wisely. And when you understand the mechanisms behind wakefulness, you no longer fight yourself every morning, you move with yourself. You are not at war with your bed, you are aligned with your biological clock, brain waves, hormones, and neural centers. All of them will align with you when you make the right decision. And from this scientific foundation, you'll have enough data to build a powerful morning system. Something we'll explore in the next part: how to design every step of the first 60 minutes to create unstoppable momentum for your entire day. Because when your brain and body are ready, the only thing you need is the right plan. In today's world, where everything moves at breakneck speed, it's easy to get swept into an uncontrollable whirlwind. Work, emails, messages, meetings, deadlines, and countless distractions. Many people begin their day in a rush, reacting instead of leading, as if life is driving them rather than the other way around. But here's a simple truth with powerful implications. You can't control the whole day if you don't control the first hour. And within that 60-minute window, from the moment you open your eyes until you step into your work rhythm, you have the power to reprogram your mental, emotional, and performance state for the rest of the day. The human mind upon waking is like a door slightly ajar, highly sensitive, easily impressionable, and extremely prone to being programmed. During this first hour, what you do or don't do sends signals to your brain about how you intend to live that day. If you begin by scrolling your phone, reading negative news, or diving into work stress, you've already set your brain into a reactive mode. In contrast, if you spend that time connecting with yourself, cultivating a positive mindset, and initiating purposeful actions, you are telling your brain, I am the leader. I choose how I live today. That's why the first 60 minutes should not be used merely to wake up in a physical sense, but to awaken fully mind, emotion, and purpose. Neuroscience shows that habits performed immediately after waking are far more likely to embed deeply into the subconscious than those done at other times. This is when the brain is in the alpha state, a bridge between sleep and wakefulness, making it an ideal moment to plant seeds of positivity, healthy behaviors, and clear direction. An effective morning doesn't need to be complicated. What matters is structure, consistency, and intentional repetition. Think of these 60 minutes as the ignition system for your entire internal ecosystem. When activated correctly, you enter the rest of your day with powerful momentum, unshaken by negative emotions, distractions, or lack of clarity. So, how should you use these 60 minutes to generate the greatest ripple effect? There's no universal formula, but here's a guiding framework you can adjust to your rhythm. March 10th, 10, October 10th, 17. First 3 minutes. As soon as you wake, don't touch your phone. Take 3 deep breaths. Drink a glass of warm water to activate your nervous system and improve circulation. Thank yourself for waking up early. That's your first victory. Next 10 minutes, move your body gently. It could be light stretching, basic yoga poses, or walking around the house, as long as your body wakes up in a positive way. This doesn't just energize you, it also triggers endorphins, hormones that promote joy and reduce stress. Next 10 minutes, journal or reset your goals. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you want to achieve today, and 1 specific action that brings you closer to a long-term goal. Writing forces your brain to gain clarity, and with clarity comes power. Next 10 minutes, feed your mind. Read a few pages from a book, listen to an uplifting podcast, or learn a new micro skill. Anything that enriches your mind and contributes to your growth. Don't let negativity enter your mental space before you've had a chance to fill it with value. Next 10 minutes, meditate or visualize. Sit still, observe your breath, or imagine yourself living as your best self. This helps regulate emotions, soothes the sympathetic nervous system, and strengthens your presence. The key to staying centered amid chaos. Final 17 minutes. Get ready for the day. Have a light breakfast, pick an outfit that makes you feel sharp, look in the mirror and smile at yourself. This isn't about looking good for others. It's a declaration to yourself. I'm ready to show up as my best today. Each of these actions may seem small on their own, but when stitched together in a consistent system, they become the psychological foundation for your entire day. When you practice this every morning, you create a victory loop. Win the first hour, win the whole day, and eventually win your life. The key doesn't lie in how much you do, but in whether you're doing the right things at the right time. And there's no time more powerful than the first 60 minutes of your day. When you use that time to take care of yourself, nurture your mindset, and reinforce your inner clarity, you are laying the foundation for a successful life, not built on luck or circumstances, but on intention, awareness, and unwavering commitment. The next part will help you move from theory to action, with step-by-step guidance on how to turn 5 a.m. into a new operating system for breakthroughs in work, health, and mindset. Many people believe they simply aren't suited for the morning. They label themselves, I'm not a morning person. But that's not a truth. It's just a story repeated so often that the brain accepts it as fact. Waking up early is not an inborn gift. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, rewired, and sustained with the right system. Modern neuroscience has shown that the human brain has extraordinary adaptability. Through a process called neuroplasticity, the brain is constantly being reshaped by repeated habits. If you wake at the same time every day and follow an intentional routine, your brain and body gradually adjust to support it as a natural rhythm. The problem isn't that you can't wake up early. The problem is that you've never been properly prepared to make it easier. Most people try to force themselves into early mornings overnight without adjusting their bedtime, without having a wake-up ritual, without understanding how their internal systems actually work. They rely on willpower to fight against an unprepared biology, and naturally they fail. But that failure doesn't mean you're incapable, it only means you haven't been guided correctly. Let's begin with the definition. You're not a morning person because you were born that way, but because you've spent enough time repeating the behaviors of a night owl to form an identity. If you sleep at 1 a.m., wake at 9, eat irregularly, and expose yourself to blue light until late, you're training your body into a chaotic sleep-wake cycle. Anyone living in that rhythm will naturally feel like 5 a.m. is absurd. The solution isn't to force yourself. It's to rebuild the routine, step by step. First, adjust your bedtime gradually. Move it earlier by 15 to 30 minutes each night. Eliminate blue light exposure at least an hour before bed. Instead, read a paper book, journal, or practice light meditation. Second, design a bedtime ritual, perhaps washing your face with warm water, listening to relaxing music, or diffusing calming essential oils to signal to your body that it's time to rest. Third, prepare for the next morning. Lay out your clothes, set your journal beside the bed, and fill your water bottle. These small actions send a clear message to your subconscious. Tomorrow begins the way I choose. Next is the wake-up ritual. Don't begin your day in fatigue and chaos. Place your alarm far enough from the bed that you have to get up to turn it off. Create a simple, positive sequence. Step out of bed, drink a glass of water, wash your face, take a deep breath, and open the curtains to let in natural light. Don't think about what to do, just do it. Like a rehearsed dance, when actions follow a fixed sequence, the brain resists less, and gradually, that morning discomfort disappears. Another key element is reward. The brain responds powerfully to pleasure. If waking up feels like a daily battle, you'll give up quickly. But if mornings are paired with joyful experiences, like your favorite music, warm sunlight, a delicious coffee, or 10 peaceful minutes with a good book, you'll start to look forward to mornings. This may seem minor, but it's crucial. Because people don't change through force, they change through feeling. To sustain the habit, you need to track progress. Mark your calendar every day you wake up on time. Write one sentence about how you felt. After a week, look back and acknowledge your effort. After a month, you'll be surprised by the difference. A lighter body, a clearer mind, and a stronger sense of control over your day. You'll no longer be trying to wake up early. You'll become someone who wakes up early naturally. Finally, be mindful of the story you tell yourself. "I'm not a morning person" is a limiting label. Replace it with, "I'm training myself to live with intention." Because what you repeat every day, what you choose to believe, is what you ultimately become. And if you choose to train for the 5 a.m. habit, you're not just changing the time on a clock, you're changing your identity, your beliefs, and the entire way you live the rest of your day. The key isn't about waking up at dawn once. The key is turning it into a part of who you are, gentle, natural, and sustainable. You don't need to be born a morning person. You only need to train the right way and be patient enough to watch the results unfold, bit by bit. Because like all powerful habits, success doesn't come from grand transformations, but from repeating the right actions, beginning with your morning. Every human behavior begins with a neural circuit in the brain. When you repeat an action over and over, the brain forms a new neural pathway, like a familiar footpath created from repeated steps. The more often you walk it, the more defined the path becomes. This is the scientific foundation of a habit. But to turn an action into an inseparable part of your identity, you need to understand and apply the 21/90 rule correctly. The 21/90 rule is a simple principle with the power to transform how you build habits. It states it takes 21 days to form a habit and 90 days to turn that habit into a lifestyle. The first 21 days are about breaking old structures. This is when the brain resists, the body stays lazy, and the mind is full of doubt. But if you can make it through this initial phase, not perfectly, just consistently, you're laying the foundation for a profound transformation. During the first 21 days, you're not just battling sleepiness, you're battling your old identity. That inner voice whispers, "I've never been able to do this." But every morning you get out of bed, every time you honor your commitment, you're rewriting your internal belief. And something magical begins to happen. Instead of thinking, "I have to wake up early," you begin to feel, "I am someone who wakes up early." That's the moment when the behavior stops being a struggle and starts becoming a reflex. After 21 days, if you continue for 69 more, making 90 days total, you don't just have a new habit, you've reinstalled an entirely new operating system in your brain. The old neural roots, those well-worn paths of procrastination, laziness, and lack of discipline, begin to fade. In their place, a new network forms where proactive thinking, disciplined action, and a sense of control take over. This is no longer behavior change. This is identity transformation. Rewiring the brain doesn't happen by thinking about change. It happens by repeating the right actions long enough, regularly enough, and with enough sincerity. Each time you do what's right when you feel like doing what's easy, you're training your brain to respond differently. And just like muscles, the brain strengthens through each round of training. The question is not whether you can wake up at 5 a.m. for 3 days. The question is, are you ready for a 90-day experiment, one where you witness yourself evolve day by day,